Thanks, Chrissy. Much appreciated. I remember when I first landed into Tucson, which is where our project is, and it was staying at the hotel, and even the garden bed was just riddled with green and blue, and I was like, holy smokes, this place is quite the copper state. But when you fly in as well, and if you only have a chance to do it, it's great. It's like super pit after super pit after super pit. It's just absolutely extraordinary. And I'll show you where there's a belt which runs through, which just hosts the majors. And we've got a lot of the similarities to a lot of those major projects, but what we think was we've just got the tip of the iceberg. So anyway, that's kind of the quick introduction. Thanks very much, opportunity to present. Thanks to Canaccord for putting on such a great show for us here. I'm here to talk about our Oracle Ridge Copper project, which was previously mined back in the mid-90s, and we see a lot of opportunity to make this a lot bigger, to mine this at a whole lot faster production rate, and as Chrissy said, but apply new technology which wasn't available back then to really make the economics hum. So that's a picture of the existing mine that you could just see on it. So it's got a significant resource, 16 million tonnes. When we bought the project, we saw that this ore body could be mined at a much faster rate. We could just go back in and do what they were doing before, but if we could mine this a whole lot faster, that will really make the economics hum. Like I said, we're going to apply new technology, and we're really excited by that opportunity as well. But we also see that there's a lot more to be had. There's a 7-kilometre strike, and we're only just touching the start of it, but we already think that we've got enough to underpin, at least 10 years of mine life at a very good throughput, and I'll explain why. We're about to put out a new JORC Resource as well, so we've been drilling for a couple of years now, and so we're really getting to the pointy end of taking that information to really build and demonstrate the value of the project, which we're excited about. The project was last mined in the mid-90s at a pretty modest rate, and we're located in Arizona. So that's Tier 1. On the Fraser Institute, it's 7th in the investment attractiveness. So it's very important, obviously, to get good projects in good jurisdictions. I can't underestimate that. Copper is strategically important to the US. It's forecast that the amount of copper is going to double by 2035, which is an extraordinary statistic. And the US, like many countries now, are really worried about where their copper supply is going to come from, because a lot of the copper in the US still comes from or it gets exported out of the country, and they're trying to keep that in. So there's very good incentives within the US, and it's now defined as a critical mineral, to keep copper and have copper production in the US. One of the things that we're looking at very strongly is to produce copper SXEW, which is copper cathode, so almost pure copper, in the US, and that will make us eligible for a whole raft of incentives and benefits through the US. As Robert Friedland recently said, we're heading for a train wreck here. My fear is that when push finally comes to shove, copper can go up 10 times. And we want to be ready, certainly when that happens, and we think we're in a very good position for that. So this is where we're located in Arizona. There is a belt that runs down from Mexico all the way up into Nevada, and this is where it hosts the big major companies. We're surrounded by BHP, Rio, South 32, Freeport, a lot of the majors, and these are big copper systems. They often start mining the high-grade skarn, and then they find the big system lurking nearby. We haven't found the big system, but we have a very sizable skarn resource pretty much at surface. So I'm going to spin it into 3D here for you. Now, this is some really cool tech, which I'm loving. And our resources are located on patented claims. You know what a mining claim is. So it's kind of the same sort of as that, which makes it very easy to get yourself into production. So all resources on patented mining claims, along with the tailings dam as well. So this is our existing resource that you can see through there. And there's outcropping copper mineralisation, largely extending everywhere around the existing resource. So we know there's a whole lot more to be found. There's existing underground development. There's about 18 kilometres of tunnels which are already dewatered. We've refurbished the existing mine, and that is a great benefit for restarting. The sumps, the pumps, the fans, ground support. There's about $100 million worth of assets there. Compared that to our current market cap is about $25 million. So this is a great benefit, and it's in the right spot. If I flick backwards and forwards, you can see that the existing development is largely around where you've got a mine. So it's a fabulous start. 16 million tonnes is a current resource. That is going to be updated. And if you drop your cut-off a little bit, we can see that it goes up to close to 1 billion pounds of copper at a 0.6 cut-off there. Again, these numbers are going to be updated shortly. But 1 billion pounds of copper, you do the maths on $4 a pound for copper price, it's a pretty sizable inventory. This is a very advanced stage project, no means about it. There's nearly 1,000 holes into this already. You can see where some of these white holes, I'll pick a different colour for you there. So this is what needs to be updated into the new resource. I'll draw those again. You can see where some of these white holes down through there, and there's a few in through there as well. That's what's going to come into the new resource. And if I put on the surface, you can see that it's not that far below surface. We've got 2 portals that go in, and then, which I'll show you through there if I spin them around, you can kind of see, and then they go up from there. So that has really nice benefits for low-cost mining. You're not trying to pull the resource or, having trucks hauling from up at depth. They're going in and then they're going up. You can have battery electric trucks running downhill, loaded, generating the power to get themselves back uphill, very low ventilation requirements because of that, and then very good productivity as well. So we see that as a really exciting opportunity, not producing copper for the green energy market, decarbonisation, but doing it in a really low emissions process as well. I'm going to just touch on a couple of our intercepts that we've had. We've got some really nice high grade, like some absolutely stellar, north of 10% copper, but then also plenty of good thicknesses too. So I don't know if you can kind of, hang on, I'll see there, there you go, well, that's the one I've shown, 25% copper that you can see here, and there's over 1,500 gram per tonne silver too. So you get these really nice high-grade zones, but then we get some nice thickness as well. So you can see there, 55 metres at 2.1. If you go up to the north here, you get up over 100 metres thick. So that big stopes, you can get good production rates out of it, and you think back in the 90s, they mined this at like 200,000 tonne a year. We want to be mining this at north of 2 million tonne a year if possible. We've got to do the work on that, so full disclaimers on it, but we're quite ambitious that we can get that production rate right up there. That's going to make the economics fly. You're going to be producing a sizable quantity of copper per annum. I said that there's a lot more copper to be found. What I'm showing here in pink through there, so that's the existing resource, but on the sides, this is all untested. This is all areas which have not been tested of the same carbonate-hosted mineralisation. So, but we think we've got enough for the moment. We've got visibility for possibly another 10 years or more beyond that. But I'll zoom into one. This is an area. This was an old mine, outcropping. You can kind of see some of the grades there. 2%, 3%, 4%. The average grade for a copper project globally is around about 0.5% copper, and here we're talking about certainly well north of 1% copper grade. So it's a very rich ore body, and there's a lot more to be found. Now this is where things really start get interesting. You can see the existing resource that sits there. There's the access road that comes in through here, and what I just showed you on that last screen is this little zone through here. But if you zoom in, over about another 5 kilometres, there is outcropping mineralisation for a long state. And this comes back to Chrissy's point that this is the copper state for a reason, where you've got, look at some of these grades are just mind-blowing. So you got 8%, 5%, 8% over about 5 kilometres, and there's a nice geophysical anomaly associated with this dipping back in under the mountain. So we're very excited to get in and drill these targets, because we think we're talking about quite a big system here. I mentioned our ambitious, well, it's not even ambitious. We're really going to have a strong focus on low emission mining. We think it's the right thing that we should be doing. We're going to use gravity, using ore passes, trucks running downhill to make this a low emission. We're looking at conveyor belts running downhill that will generate power to be able to feed back into the vent system. we're looking at pumped hydro systems as well. Because we've got that gravity, we've got an old mine as well, which is already full of water, different mine to what we're talking about here, but it's perched up nice and high. So we've already got a dam with a nice, reservoir of water, and then we could be feeding that power back into the grid. And there's some great incentives in the US at the moment for producing renewable power systems. So, and we've got permits, patented claims, and the sort of the right setup exactly for it. So where we are now is we're confident that we would be able to restart the project with a very similar approach to what we had done before, but we want to leverage off these new discoveries, build up the resource base, which is what we've done, and then apply new technology. So we're applying that on both processing and mining, and our mine planning and infrastructure. So the full gamut of it. We're really seeing a lot of exciting opportunity around metallurgy in particular, being able to potentially leach sulfides through an SXCW plant, where there's a raft of different processes in the US which are starting to investigate this, and the benefits could be quite significant if they could work for us. Quick snapshot, our market cap has declined quite significantly due to the current state. So I think that's a really exciting buying opportunity for investors who see that opportunity, that copper is going to be in demand, and they want to get exposure to good copper projects, which I think we tick those boxes for sure. The company and the employees, Charlie Bass has about 33% of this. So we are putting our money where our mouth is. We're heavily invested. The employees are really trying to make sure that this project is going to work, which is, I think, something that you certainly want. So look, in summary, we have an existing mine. We've been growing the resource base. We've had some great success in that. We've got news flow coming through on the expansion of that resource base. We're applying new technologies to really enhance the cash flows to restart Oracle Ridge with a particular focus on low emission mining. So thanks very much. I think if this clock is correct, I've still got a couple of minutes, so I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. Yeah, sure.
When did the mine stop operating, and for what reason did it stop?
Yeah, so it ran from 1990 to 96. They mined about 1 million tonnes through that period. They closed the mine for two key reasons. One was they locked themselves in a hedge of $1 a pound, $1.07 a pound for copper. So they decided, there was pretty sort of subdued copper prices. And they also went through a bit of harder ore as well. So the mill that they had installed at the time, as silly as it sounds, it couldn't keep up. And so they had a lot of recirculating load in the mill. So it's quite an easy problem to solve. Just put the right crusher in and you'll fix that. But they were undercapitalised at the time. If I go back to the development here, I think I've got another minute. They mined nearly all of this just from development, not from stopes. They only mined about 6 stopes, so that gives us that confidence to be able to mine it a whole lot higher, but they didn't have that consistent throughput going through the mill, so that made it also very hard for them. So it wasn't how you'd mine it today where you've got a good mine plan.